All right, everybody, welcome to the Not Your Average Financial Podcast live. I'm here with my awesome friends, Evan Greathouse and Brandon Neely. Evan, great to see you, sir. How you doing, sir?
Always good to see you, man. I'm fantastic. Can't complain.
Brandon, Brandon, what's going on in your neck of the woods, my friend?
Oh, the horrible weather here in Cincinnati. Just kidding. We are having fun. It's Friday. I mean, shoot, I'm gonna go hang out and build some Legos or something.
Yeah, you're big into Legos. Hey, I want to hear more about that because honestly, I think your mind can go anywhere and you can kind of check out from the stresses of life. And that's kind of what we want to be talking about today. So let's stress out a bunch and then let's go play some Legos after this.
There you
Let's
go.
go.
Actually, no, I'm hoping that if folks are watching this and joining this, that you've come here not just to figure out what's going on. There's a lot going on right now in the financial world, the economic world, the war, the economy, changes in the tax law that we're going to be seeing on our tax returns here in the next few weeks. So there's a lot to discuss, but once we're done adulting, let's go grab some Legos, or at least do something fun. I agree. There's enough to stress over in the world. Let's do something fun. So I thought what we do together today, guys, is first of all, I want to give everyone who's joining this live a chance to share their biggest concerns and what they're focused on, what the big changes are in their financial picture right now, because there's a lot going on. There's higher saving limits that are baked into the tax code. There's forced Roth catch-ups. And no, I'm not talking about like mustard. This is like, we'll talk some about that. We've got modest Social Security COLA offsets. So we're not going to be seeing our Social Security rising dramatically to offset the cost of living. And we're going to be talking about, in general, a lot of the control from the government and more market-based pushing people into the stock market, whether we want to or not, whether we realize it or not. And we want to talk about personal agency because I believe that's honestly what this all comes down to. I'm a big believer in taking personal initiative to reach your personal financial goals, to your productive capacity. What's your potential? Can you reach it? Will you be reaching for it, or
Hmm.
will you be just handed your bucket of financial slop from the financial infotainers or the government or whatever, and just accept what you've been given? Will you be the tennis ball that floats down the gutter of your own financial life, or will you take personal initiative, reach your potential, and like a salmon swim upstream through that all that slop to get to the real deal to see what you can accomplish in your life? That's what we're all about, and all of our businesses are all about. Before we get into the topics, Evan and Brandon, I just want you guys to share a bit about your practice. Like, what are you noticing? What are you seeing? Tell us a bit about the financial work you do for clients. What's the name of your business? How can folks find you and reach you? And then what's going on as you're talking with clients, just sort of at a broad level before we get to these topics.
I can jump in real quick. I'm Evan Greathouse with Greathouse Financial Solutions. And as you can maybe guess, I'm a bank on yourself professional. And I basically want to make sure that everybody knows and has the ability to save money in a safe, reliable, predictable way that has the best guarantees that I've ever seen. And guarantee being a really pretty big word there. It's a pretty strong word, but it's hard to come across that kind of thing these days. And with a reliable, accessible, and all the major benefits that we talk about on this show all the time. So yeah, that's what I do in the short.
Awesome. And
And
Brandon,
yeah, so we're kind of in the middle of I don't know if I'd say a transition, but a name change. And so right now we're Wealth Wisdom Financial, but we're moving to Live Counterflow. And the reason that we're making this switch is because I believe a lot of our systems are broken, and a lot of the things that we um, are put into, frankly, are built on a system that's against us. And so I love the Bank on Yourself system because it's a counterflow movement. It's a way of saying, hey, I want to go a different way. And so what we're going to talk about today is a counterflow idea, in that sometimes we're forced to go with the stream and not against the stream. And I want to figure out how do we help go against the stream and, frankly, create a new movement that changes the world. So that's livecounterflow.com, I believe. So
livecounterflow.com. All right, cool. Let's get that in the chat so we can get it out to everybody. And
There's
Evan, I've got yours already loaded up. Go ahead.
If you go into Live Counterflow, you'll see a little quiz, Find Your Flow. It's a free quiz to say, are you a pirate? Are you a captain? Are you overboard? Or are you a deckhand? And it's really fun to see where people's flow type is. And so, again, going back to this topic, somebody wants to extract our flow and use it for their own.
Yep.
And that's kind of what I want to really think through here.
Well, there you go. Why don't you jump right into the first topic? We've got a lot we're going to cover. This is going to be sort of a round robin style so we can keep the energy flowing. Brandon, you're going to kick us off. Then we're going to kind of move through the topics and cycle through them. And there's some big ideas, I think, bold opinions that we're all going to bring to what's going on in the world today. We're going to share some real client stories. We're going to share how living counterflow, like Brandon was saying, swimming upstream, financially speaking, how it tangibly looks in 2026 as these changes are coming down the pipe. And some of the, I think, honestly, some of the old solutions are new again if we have the proper eyes to see them. So we want to take some of the headwinds and turn them into tailwinds for you guys as you're chiming in and checking in with us. But be sure to ask questions in the chat as we go. Don't let this just be us bobbleheads on the screen. Get yourself involved. This is an open conversation. We're making this the Knights of the Round Table here today. You got a seat as long as you chime in and speak up. So Brandon, as we get going, man, lead us off with the first one. We've got a topic here, Roth-only catch-up contributions for high earners starting in 2026. Do you want to bring that topic up?
Yeah, if you could share that article.
Yep.
And as I think through this, right, I'm not in the market that much, but if I'm going to do any kind of 401ks or something, I prefer the Roth, right? And so I'm wondering, and it says that if you're 50 and your federal insurance, it's going to go over 150, you required to do catch up. Is that what it's saying? Like we have to put more into our Roths? And
you don't have to, but it must be, if you're making too much money and they say $150,000 a year, you're not forced to make a catch-up contribution, but when you do, and if you do, it must be a taxable contribution to the 401k. So that's what the government has changed today.
So I wonder, and this is something I've thought about with our either deferring the taxes or getting the taxes now, right? Mm-hmm. Is looking at our state of our economy and state of debts and everything else is saying, oh, well, we need the money now. We're going to make this a requirement so we can get our money now. That sounds kind of what's happening. And I'm like, oh, well, from an economic standpoint, they're trying to get as much money to them as possible. And so, again, the system, Roth versus non-Roth, doesn't matter. The whole system was built to, well, amplify them. It's theirs, right? The IRS. So how do we get out of that? So I think looking at this, understanding those contribution limits and what is, and I'm not saying you don't do it. I'm saying let's be out of the system altogether if we can. I'd rather do what I call the rich man's Roth into life insurance if I can.
So why is it called a rich man's Roth? Like, describe that to me. Why isn't, just unpack that phrase a little bit more.
Yeah. So with the Roth account, you can only put in a certain amount, right? 6,500, whatever the limit is.
Yep.
It changes.
I think this year in 2026, it's $7,000 for folks under 50 and $8,000 if you're over 50 years old. Yeah. So $8,000 is the most you can put into a Roth IRA contribution.
Which it changes, right? Every year. And you're like, wait a second, what was the rule? I forgot. And what I like about with the banking yourself type policies is I can build a policy that is I can put in premium of 50,000, right? 50,000, pay my taxes now and have that available and continuing to grow. So 50,000 is more than 7,000, right?
That's hard
I'm
math,
not
man. But even on
great
a
at
Friday
math.
afternoon, you're throwing math at me.
And I'm like, well, this is how it works, and I can put more in, pay my taxes now, and then leverage and use it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's a rich man's Roth. Now, sometimes I don't build a policy just to have a big Roth account. I might tell somebody I'm going to do 6,000 or 4,000 or 5, depends, right? But that's why you want to work with an advisor that knows how these work, and then you might have multiple. I have multiple policies to be able to have multiple Roth accounts, basically.
Sure.
And no one's telling me, oh, well, the rules changed. Now you have to do this or that. I think the rules changing is, changing the game board all the time.
It's taking control out of your hands.
What do you think,
know?
Kevin, of this change?
Yeah, it's taking the control from the actual people who have the retirement account. They need to have the ability to do whatever is best for them, and this is taking that away. So, one thing I'm really concerned with is the implications for taxes that this can have. It could really step on a lot of people's toes, pushing them into a higher tax category, bracket rather. And it's gonna create a whole lot of turmoil for people, and which I don't, correct me, is it, I see here on Fidelity's website, it says it's 150,000, but I was looking at it earlier, and I was in a webinar yesterday actually that was talking about this exact thing, and they were saying it's actually, if you make 145,000, more than 145,000, and not 150,000, that's going to group even a few more people into there. That's where,
true, yeah.
If you make 145,000 $1, then you're going to fall into this mandatory catch-up, rule where if you are going to catch up and contribute the additional catch-up amount, if you're over 50, that has to go into a Roth. You can't take the tax deduction that day. It's, or that year rather, it's going to be tax-free at the end of, whenever you get ready to take it all out. But again, control is being taken from you.
Yeah.
Without permission. Who has the authority to do something like that? Who should be able to do that?
I didn't vote on that change. I guess I elected we may have elected representatives that made those changes, but I didn't make this change. And what about things like Roth conversions? Those will push people as they're getting older. They're looking at their old 401k, and their financial advisor might tell them, hey, you got this old traditional IRA. Don't you want to move to a Roth conversion and convert your old traditional IRA or traditional 401k? By making those, it's going to push people into higher brackets, conceivably over the $150,000 income level, and then they're gonna have some extra money to put into their current 401k, but it's going to be a catch-up contribution that now must be a Roth contribution, pushing them still further into today's higher brackets. And sure, we had a lower tax cut with the recent tax cuts that happened with the OBA, the One Big Beautiful Bill and Tax Cuts and Jobs Act and all that. But here's the thing, and I just want to sprinkle this. If the government changed the rules today, can't they change them again in the future? In fact, there's a new account out. It's called a Trump account. It's for kids. And I was just digging into it. At first, I was not a fan. I'm going to be doing an episode on it here shortly because I am now a fan of the Trump accounts for one reason, and I'll have folks check out the episode in a few weeks to find out why. But why I don't like them is this. You put money into a Trump account after tax, so there's no deduction today, just like these catch-up contributions. And then when the kid turns 18, it becomes a traditional IRA. Now, what sense does that make? Why is that like nonsensical. Well, I already paid my taxes on the contributions, and now it's a traditional IRA, meaning I got to pay taxes again when my kid pulls the money out in retirement. That is preposterous to me, to pay taxes twice, basically. Once for me when I made the contribution for my kiddo, once for him or her when they go to retire. I just have this fear, I guess, or this concern that if the government is going to be making changes to your retirement accounts, where your catch-up contribution must be a Roth-style contribution, they want money now. I'm guessing that the government's still going to be starving for cash when I'm retired too. And I just have this feeling that it's going to be another rule change later on where my full account balance is going to get taxed a second time in the future. Can I prove that? No. All I can do is look at the past where the government makes a change to my rule, and now all of a sudden I've got to pay another, penny to the Uncle Sam before I can get access to my cash.
I
I'm
think
seeing some
another
great comments. Oh,
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brandon. Go ahead.
Oh, just thinking about the politics of it, like the name, the Trump account, whatever, is we will say one thing. I was just talking to Ivan actually.
Read his comment if you wouldn't mind. He says, "I'm sure they'll lower the threshold once it's implemented." Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, the camel's nose is under the tent now,
Yep.
but might they lower that income threshold later on? Great point there, Ivan.
Well, and just thinking like as we're going through some of this and some of the names of these things, it's a lot of politics, right? Whether it's Trump account, whether it's Roth, I don't want any politician or any of this to be how I define or plan my future, right? And that's the problem is where we have this little carrot that's tangled, and then we bite on the carrot, and then it changes. The rules change, the games change,
Yeah,
and
totally.
I don't know what's going to happen. It looks cool until we learn, right? And so that's the hard part, and where I love going back to the policies is I want to have control, and a lot of business owners right now have they feel like they're out of control. AI is going up. Having employees is hard, and all the stuff on inflation, on tariffs. It's harder and harder to build, and all the while, there's people like again. The people who are making these changes, 150,000 or not, they're making way above or more than that. They don't have the same rules as we typical people do. And that's the hard part if I think through it.
Well, I definitely don't want to knock on this. I mean, I like after-tax contributions. That's what Bank on Yourself allows. It's paying tax on the seed versus the harvest. We like that, I think. But, I think what I'm concerned about, and we can move on to this topic, is government makes changes. That's no guarantee that they won't pull the rug out from under us in the future. They just have a history of doing that. So,
Yep.
Good. Let's jump on to the next one here. So the next topic we wanted to bring up for today is there are some new increased retirement plan contribution limits for 2026. And so every year, like Brandon was saying earlier, there's a contribution change to the overall financial products that you can put your money in. If it's a 401k, if it's an IRA, if it's a Roth IRA, these are all different, financial tools that folks are dumping money into. Let's put this on the screen. There we go. All right. So here are a couple of the key changes. One of the key ones here, you can put as much as $24,500 into a 401k, up from $23,500. All these are mostly cost of living increases. Going from in an IRA, you can put $7,500 up from $7,000. So all these things are good. We like these things for the majority of these plans as a way to save. But what is something that is maybe the hidden viper in this basket of cookies here? The problem is, where's the money typically going, and what will actually be the end result? So my big concern with this one is, we're stuffing. We're not really a country that saves. So this is really for the few folks that have capacity to save money. And if you can do that, you should be doing that. We should all be saving money. but we've all made the mistake, I think. Most Americans have made the mistake of mixing the phrase saving versus investing versus speculation.
Yes.
We put our
Yep.
money that should be saved into investments and speculation. And again, more room to stuff money into retirement accounts sounds great on paper or on the IRS's website. But once again, volatility and the sequence of returns risk is what's lurking in the basket of cookies. There's no control over where that market might take your money. You're putting more at risk. The investments and speculation that you're investing in your IRAs and 401ks are really not built on the four-letter word, PLAN. You can't build a plan around something you have no control over.
Yep.
To me, that's the biggest red light flashing here. More Americans will dump more money into the stock market or into the bond market, pushing those numbers higher. We're going to see the Dow Jones go up higher because of this. When you open the tap on how much you can put into a 401k, and you have certain people who can save more money dumping money into their 401k, what's that do to stocks? It's going to push the stock up. What's that do to the politician who made the change? It's going to make him or her look really smart. Hey, look at this. I got the Dow Jones up to 60,000 points. Won't you vote for me again? And all the while, Americans are watching their retirement savings, i.e. their investments and their speculation stocks, bounce around in ways that they cannot predict or control, leading to more unease. Am I being too nervous Nelly here, guys? Is this something that, am I looking for lemons when I should just be enjoying my lemonade? Should we all just be happy that we can now save more money?
I've been accused of and not, it doesn't happen all the time because people, whenever they talk to me, they know who I am and they can get a feel for my intentions and that I'm a genuinely good person most of the time. But there are people out there who may say that you're just spewing fear, uncertainty, and doubt by saying something like that. And I got to give pushback and say, no, it's just a blatant fact. It's a system that is indeed broken, outdated. It was a good idea until, and before I say that, I'm going to ask this, how many people who are actively investing in the stock market, regular, average, everyday Joes like you guys and myself, how many of them are able to beat the big top hedge funds on a consistent basis? Who's going to actually end up getting all of this extra money that's going in, flooding into the market? Is it us Joes, or is it the big top dog hedge funds that are sapping it from everybody? I mean, call me conspiracy theorist or whatever you want, but it makes sense to me that I've seen it happen. There are ways that you can actually lose all of that just by not having the expertise that these other guys have. So they're pretty good at the game. There are very few who are actually capable of beating the market on a regular, consistent basis. And so anyways, not to say that it can't be done. It absolutely can. It's just how many of those people are actually aware of that. And I think we're going to get into that a little later on.
Well, and let me even underline what you're saying there, Evan. Your investment advisor might have beat the market last year, but that doesn't mean he or she can beat them again this year. Usually it's a different group of people every year that beat the market. So there's statistics out there. Only 5% of the money managers will beat the market this year, or 15%, or pick your stat. We could look it up. There's some statistic, somewhere between 5 and 15% of money managers actually beat the overall market. Problem is that basket of money managers is always changing. Your best money manager this year is going to be a loser next year, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm. And right. I did want to add, again, being a business owner and being a W-2, right? If you're working for somebody else who has a 401k or has those kind of things, it's different rules, right, for different types of people. And as a business owner, and not a bazillion-dollar business owner like Jeff Bezos, right? And I think sometimes those rules are built for those type people to help them grow. and oftentimes we don't realize that we're the lemmings on the cliff, right? Whether we're small business owners or small employees, right? Doesn't matter.
Right.
And so understanding what we are, my biggest risk and my biggest investment is my business. I'm not going to put it into Tesla stock or somebody else's stock or whatever is happening with AI now and that stock. Who knows? We change our behavior and we're like, oh, well, AI stock is the best thing, right? That didn't even exist 4 years ago, right? And now
Right.
we're all experts in AI and which stocks to use and how best to use it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. My biggest investment is me. How can I have more control in that?
It's a great
I can
point,
always
man.
rant on
It's a
this
really good
because,
point. Love it, love it.
Oftentimes we give that away. So
We give it away.
think
That's a
our-
really good word for it. Like we pass our agency off to some other entity, thinking they can manage our money better than we can. We think we're not as great as or as powerful as we actually are. We are our greatest investment, Brandon. That's a great point.
Yeah,
Great stuff,
100%.
Brandon. Love it. Give me goosebumps. Evan, what's something that you'd like to bring up that we can turn our attention to now? How can we put,
Well, so
lemonade on the parade? Go for it.
yeah, we talked about. I briefly mentioned it earlier, but like the upfront tax deductions that you can get from some retirement savers and stuff. Those are going to be a little bit more complex now. If you are 55 and up and you make a little bit too much salary, W-2 salary, then getting the tax deduction could potentially be a devastating blow to you. Not getting the tax deduction could potentially push you into a higher tax bracket and cause you to pay 10% more, 4% more, or whatever towards taxes, and that hurts people's cash flow over the long run. And kind of talking about sequence of events, of returns rather, like that is a loss if you ask me. Not to mention the fact that if your company that you're with doesn't actually offer a Roth option, you can't even catch up. You're not allowed. If all your employer offers is traditional 401ks or 403bs or whatever, then you're going to miss out on up to $8,000 that you could have caught up, but no longer can. So that's again reducing savings, reducing what people have for retirement. It's a pretty big issue. So I just would say that part of it is gonna throw a wrench in people's spokes if they aren't prepared for that, if they're not sure how to navigate that.
So something I've thinking about, I'm curious from you guys. So I think jobs went down 92,000 or something. I don't know, some crazy number that our jobs loss was, right. I think I saw something this today on this, and so okay, it's because of possibly AI or people are doing things and they don't need the employees anymore. But then on the other side, we're investing in that because it gives us a big rate of return, theoretically. And so we get a big return for dividends or whatever in our accounts, right, for now. But then we lost our job because we wanted that growth and we fed into that growth, but now we have no income because it grew because I don't know. And so I'm curious, what do you guys think about that? Like, are we sometimes hurting ourselves in the meme of short-term growth and not actually thinking about sustainability? What do you think?
Brandon, I think you just described every toddler. I think you
Right?
just described every
Are
toddler.
we all toddlers? Is that
child,
what it
you
is?
know.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and the second order consequences of making a decision where, I just imagine the Looney Tunes character who, he's trying to, I don't know, he's trying to saw the branch off of the tree, and he saws the branch off the tree, and the tree falls, but the branch is still there, and he's holding on to the tree, of course. So it's sort of like the unexpected event. You saw the branch off, but the tree is what falls over, and the branch is still floating in the air, like a good Looney Tunes, you know, show.
Yeah.
It's gonna defy gravity. I feel like most Americans are investing in the things that may undo them. I invest in potato chips all the time. It's going to undo my six pack if I ever had one. So we
Right.
regularly make inappropriate decisions for our long term good all the time, for sure. Evan, what do you think?
I agree. I tend to be the type of person who would rather think in decades or generations, and not the sugar high, as you say often in your podcast, like the sugar high hit that you get from a lot of these other quick fixes. It's not good for you in the long run. It's not good for the next
Mm-hmm.
generation. Most of the time, and some people may get lucky, but that's gambling
Mm-hmm.
at that
Yep.
point. What this is all about is surefire methods that are going to help us get from here to the finish line and be able to hold our heads up, at the end, and not be,
Yeah.
panting and crawling to the finish line, or not make it at
Totally.
all. So,
I
That's
think
right.
again, going back to some of these things, they're all headlines, right? But understanding how does these headlines affect us on the you and me level, and that's the hard part because we'll look at the headline of 92,000 people lost their jobs, or I don't know, whatever that was.
Right.
That's a lot of people. Hopefully, it's not me because I'm a business owner, but I am an employer.
Totally.
Um,
Brandon, what's our next topic? Where do you want to take things now?
yeah. So if you want to show this article too, the next one, new senior bonus deductions for Social Security taxes. So wait, is that what it means? Like
You're
where,
saying there's some good news. Good. Okay.
yeah. So show the source here. Um, it says
Sure.
around 74 million Americans receive Social Security, and for many adults, these monthly payments comprise a substantial part of their income. According to Pew Research Center, 63% of beneficiaries say Social Security accounts for at least half of their income. What is that? Well,
Wow.
27% dependence on it as their
mm,
only source of income. So I
Wow.
see this a lot. Like there's a lot of seniors, and this is our problem that we're facing now, is a lot of these people. I was just doing my CE work of how many people are going into retirement, and their only source of income is Social Security. Um, and it's getting harder. I think that's a low number. 27% is dependent only on Social Security. I think that's low, actually. I think it's high, more than that. And it's going to get worse because a lot of these people who are coming into retirement, they didn't have anything else, right? So, yeah, what do you think on
Yeah.
this one, guys? What's your thoughts on here?
I mean, the big news of this article is OBA, One Big Beautiful Bill Act, is saying that you can deduct $6,000 as a bonus deduction, which means more seniors will pay less taxes on their Social Security. I feel like this is something that should have been the case all along. You paid into the Social Security system as a tax, and you shouldn't pay your
Yep.
taxes on your Social Security benefits. It's sort of the same thing that's going on with the Trump accounts right now. I either want to pay taxes on the seed or the harvest. Shouldn't be able to, tax me on both. Either tax me coming or
mm,
going. Don't fool around with a good time there. I think I need to make this clear. If the government can do it with Social Security for the last 45 years, 50 years since Reagan days, and now we're getting this wonderful little deduction for 3 or 4 years. What is this, through 2028? Like, that's a big deal to a lot of people. I realize that, but that's still not a lot of time. I don't think you
Yep.
guys are going to benefit from this. I'm not going to benefit from this. We're not old enough. And it just reminds me, I guess I don't want to be, you know, all negative here. I'm really happy that there's a lot of seniors who are going to have less taxes on their Social Security benefit, but it reminds me that, hey, heck, I paid into this Social Security system for 40 plus years, and that was a tax on my earnings, and I
Yeah.
couldn't opt out of that. I couldn't exactly opt out of Social Security even if I wanted to. And now in retirement, I'm going to be asked to pay a tax again on my Social Security benefits I receive. It just seems, again, I'm not here for rage bait, I promise. But I am just saying, wow, why aren't we getting this Social Security benefit out tax free like we should have all the time? And we did before the early 80s. Evan, am I just being too negative here?
I just, well, so while you were talking about that, I was thinking, what is a tax deduction actually going to do for people? What does it translate to as far as dollars goes? Because I mean, there's a difference between a tax deduction and a tax credit, right? A tax credit reduces the amount that you end up paying to the government. So if you owe $10,000 and you're getting a $6,000 tax credit, then now you owe $4,000. That translates to some pretty big savings. So this is a
Yeah.
tax deduction. Deductions just lower the amount of your taxable income by $6,000. You're still getting taxed on whatever tax bracket you're in, and in some cases 50 to 85%. If you make 30 to $44,000 or something, if you're just married or filing jointly. And I think this will help a lot of people who are on the threshold, but for those who are way above the threshold, this isn't going to translate to very, very like a tremendous amount of savings anyways. So it's
Mm-hmm.
good news. It's better than a sharp poke in the eye, but I want to see some actual benefits here, like something a little stronger than that, because like you guys have said, saving into this Social Security thing, and by the way, again, so many rules around it. Uh, and control is no longer in your hands whenever there are so many rules that you have no authority over. It just drives me a little bit bonkers to think about that. And yeah, is this actually going to be around for me? Probably not. I don't know. Maybe not though, unless they do some pretty major changes that affect a lot of people today, which would be devastating to them. I would much rather not have to rely on Social Security, but there are so many people who do though. So
Well, and I want to think about, like, again, okay, so they lowered it. Maybe we get extra money, right? But okay, so we have extra money. Inflation is going up, so then it just goes back out, right? So it's not seeing quality of life change for a lot of people, as well as, okay, so healthcare costs, right? So okay, so
Right.
the milk didn't change maybe, but now we have to go do a colonoscopy and we don't have a job anymore, because we just lost the job because whatever, and we need to do this, and so it goes to that. So I'm wondering how that's going to play out, and sometimes it's lowering, so we don't understand what's really going on.
It's a really good point.
Again, I want to be aware. I want to take advantage of whatever's out there, but in the end, is it just moving from one problem to another, and then the politician can say, "Boy, I did this for you," but then, but I'm not responsible for healthcare costs, right? And I'm like, okay, whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
It's weird.
So with Social Security, I mean, it's always welcome to get a little bit of a discount on our taxes. Thank you, Uncle Sam. But I guess with us staring down the barrel of the gun of, what is it, 2034, when Social Security is going to be running out of money, the trust fund will be empty, and we'll have to start taking reductions in benefits altogether. Am I understanding that right? Is it 2034?
yeah, they
8
keep
years out?
pushing it back,
Is that right?
occasionally,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Or-
that's
So I guess I'm just considering, like, how does Bank on Yourself as a place for guaranteed and, if built correctly, tax-free access to cash to create a reliable income stream, what does that do to counter some of the concerns of a temporary tax deduction on Social Security right alongside this next tax related topic I'll go ahead and bring that up now. And the topic is Social Security beneficiaries and so supplemental security income recipients. Those are folks that need SSI, like disability or very impoverished people. They're going to get a 2.8% increase on their Social Security payments. So that's awesome. And the maximum amount of earnings then, so that's the good news. If you're on Social Security or if you're on SSI, you're going to see a pay raise this year. However, those of us who are earning a living and trying to work for the money we spend, anybody who isn't on Social Security, in other words, is now going to be subject to a higher tax. Like our taxable maximum for Social Security goes now up to $184,500. That's more than it was before. So it was $176,000. Now it's $184,500. So more of your earnings are going to be pouring into the Social Security Trust Fund, trying to keep that thing going for another few years. It's the Ponzi scheme phenomenon, in my opinion. You're always looking for, like, how can we pour more, fool's money into this system to keep it running as long as possible. So let me pull up the Social Security Administration's own website for a little more detail on this. But I'm curious, what do you guys think? Am I being too harsh here? Should I be happy to pour money into the Social Security Trust Fund, more of our income, more of our earned income into that system? Should we be happy that we're giving Social Security recipients a pay raise to help them keep up with the very real inflation? 2.8%. It's going to help with that cost of eggs and groceries and helping our seniors go see the grandkids. So where do you guys fall down on this topic?
So I'm in a unique position in that I'm a caretaker of somebody, right? And so having that income increase is really good for us as caretakers.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think about, I want that. Again, it's wanting it now versus later. Right. However, most people, all of us here, are younger. Right. We're paying for a problem of the baby boomers, right? Like they had a lot of kids and we're looking at population and all of this other fun stuff. And 15 years, where's that going to leave us as people that are, once they're gone, they've retired to heaven. My mother-in-law is no longer here in 20 years, right? How's that going to affect us then? And I think that that's going to be hard for us in the workforce now, right? We're facing a lot of other problems, and it's to help the problems of those guys, right? What happened? Like a lot of these things is a baby boomer problem that we're trying to solve, and we are not baby boomers. Unfortunately, I'm just saying, right? The market went up.
Unfortunately, you're not a baby boomer, Brandon?
I'm not.
You're Gen X. I didn't think you were super fond of those guys, generally speaking. No?
Gen X, and then we think about and we look at, and I've thought about this a lot with my staff, who's like 25, 26. How are they going to live with all of what are we giving them? And I'm a parent. How do we have an agency to help those guys? Because it's
Love it.
There's a lot of problems, and I want to help my seniors. I'm all for that, but I also want to make sure that we have a world for them that our kids to live in.
Mm-hmm. Come on, man, that's awesome. Evan, what do you think, man? Where do you fall down on this topic? Given the pay raise to the seniors and those in need.
I'll just say this, excellent. Glad that they're getting a little bit of a pay raise, but I'll default back to kind of similar point that I made just a minute ago. It's like, how does that translate? What is the actual dollar impact? Because the reality is that if you're married and filing jointly, then you're taxable, like the Social Security benefits, 85% of that benefit is taxable income. And so increasing the amount of income that you're getting, 85% of that is still getting taxed. And so it's increasing the amount that the government is able to claw back, essentially.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
The 2.8%, I think that would actually translate dollar for dollars to less than that, whenever you factor in the cost and opportunity cost and everything. So it's just
Good point. Yeah. Really good point.
not helping,
Yeah. It's
not helping as much as it's
so right,
stated.
man.
Mhm.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, and by the way, as they raise the 2.8% goes up, usually your Medicare premiums go up to kind of gobble up your living adjustments, right? Brandon, can you attest to that a little bit for those the person you're taking care of?
I see a lot of this, again, I'm like, great, her payments are going up, and what's good for us is my wife is a CFP. She understands my mother-in-law can't do this stuff for herself, but not everybody has an Amanda in their family that can help make sure that works. And so that's where I see it saying, oh yeah, well maybe they didn't even know they had benefits, right? And so there's
She's
all
so
kinds.
smart. If you guys are ever adopting, just let me know. I'm happy to join the Neely family. So Ivan, is it Ivan? He says, Brandon, I think you know this guy, so I'll let you read his comment and reflect on it.
Yeah, he says it's worse than a Ponzi scheme because the pool of participants is shrinking based on lower birth rates, which is true. That's what I was saying about the kids, right? We're not having 16 kids, we're having 2, right? And stronger immigration enforcement. And I don't want to go into that, but literally those people were helping pay into Social Security, even though they were getting paid, but they weren't receiving the benefits, from what I hear. And so if we're removing the people who are paying and not receiving the benefits, and there's less people there, or they're 1099s because they're not employees anymore, isn't that less money going into Social Security?
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Overall, going
Yeah.
in versus out. I don't know.
Just
I'm
seems
not
like
that
and I
negative,
totally agree
but
with you, Brandon.
it's a
I
challenge.
totally agree with you there, Brandon. It is a challenge. I totally agree with you. I think there's this thing in me that sort of it strikes me as odd. Like, okay, so the government what's Nelson Nash, his one of his famous quotes: "When the government creates a problem, and then it creates the solution to the problem it created, don't you have at least the sneaking suspicion that you're being manipulated?" And
Mm.
I feel like that's
Yep.
sort of what's going on with Social Security. I'm so glad we're taking care of those that are in greatest need.
Yep.
Mhm.
And what would the world be like if we kept all of our income? Would we be able to take better care of the ones in need? Is the government the best entity to take care of those in need around us? Maybe so. Maybe there's other entities that could do it better. Maybe, I mean, somehow we took care of people before Social Security in the 1937 or something, 1934.
Mhm.
So, I assume we are better off as a country in some ways because of the safety net. But when I see the cost of living go up on Social Security and also the taxes go up, it just makes me think the government's having more control over our lives, not necessarily more people being helped. And that kind of goes to what Brandon was saying and what Ivan's saying, that it's worse than a Ponzi scheme. Evan, what do you think? Am I off in crazy land?
No, I don't have much to add to that. You said it all right there, and that's my stance exactly. And I want again, I want to voice this. I am concerned about the aging population, and I want to make sure that they're well taken care of. What's the most effective way to do that? I don't know that it's this. I think there's a better way. So,
It's one more
I
government naming. Fun fact is, anytime they name something, it's usually the opposite of what it's called. Social Security, Postal Service. The list goes on and on. Brandon, say
am
again.
curious what you guys heard of that K-shaped economy or something like that? Is that
Economy.
what it's called? K-shaped. That we're in the K-shaped economy. Have you heard about that before?
Yeah, explain for
no.
our listeners a bit about what that is.
So and this is what's interesting is so it's a K shape. So those that have money, they get to have more money, and it's growing in that direction, right? So they're moving in that direction. and then those who don't have money are going in the other direction, going worse and worse. And so what's interesting is if we are in a K-shaped economy, those people and all the things that are happening is moving towards the uber rich, or the people that have the money can get richer. Medical companies, health insurance companies, that they keep raising that up, so they go higher while the other guys are going down. And so I think we're in a K-shaped economy. I think that what we're talking about really is how do we not be the ones going down in that K-shaped, but how are we the ones going in the other direction? And it's very hard to be in that upward curve in our world. And so look up that K-shaped economy, but I do believe that's where we're at. And we see that control, big business, big corporations, maybe government, right? Big government, little, doesn't matter. But how do we think differently? And how do we say, I don't want to be on the downward slope, I want to be on the upward slope. And as business owners, I have to think differently.
I'll just say this too, like, step number one, care more about your income and your money than everybody else does.
Yeah.
And have a plan for it. Those without a plan, somebody else is going to have a plan for your money. I'm just telling
say
you.
that again, man. That's so good. Yeah.
If you don't have a plan, you're defaulting to the other plans that other people have for your money. And so I would much rather be the one who plans what to do with it. So have a plan and care more about it than everybody else does. I can say from my personal experience, like as a college kid, not knowing a whole lot, when I was getting my first jobs in the job market, I was offered, I was given the opportunity to start a 401k. It's the only 401k I've ever had, and I only had it for like a year and a half, so it didn't accrue to very much. But the form was just like, do you want option A, B, or C? And I didn't know. I just checked A, whatever. And I didn't care, but now I know a little bit more, and I know better and care about where your money is going. I want to make sure, which kind of leads us into the next talking point here. I don't know if we have time to go into it.
Well, we got about 1 minute. Why don't you tease us with it? Give us your quick, like we're talking. Everybody, give your 10-second hot take, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah. So it's enhancements for retirement savings, and enhancements being that you can actually just set it up for auto enrollment. So anybody who is getting a job and with a new employer, they're going to be able to just auto enroll everybody into the 401k plan. And by default, unless you opt out of it, you're going to be in it. And who's going to pick your allocations? How are you going to control what you're invested in? Again, going back to control, going back to caring more about your money. I think there's a better way. If you can opt out of it and maybe put your money into savings, like in a, bank on yourself type policy, for instance, where there's guaranteed growth, there's liquidity, there's access to your money. It doesn't go away whenever, you just leave that job, or you can actually do something with it. It's going to allow you a whole lot more opportunity to invest in things without somebody else having their plan for you and in mind. You get to have your own plan in that case. So there it is.
Yeah, when you auto enroll, it's basically like the Pleasure Island on Pinocchio. You just got to be real careful where you're, who you're following. Again, someone else, like you said, Evan, someone else has a plan for your money, and that might be Edward Jones or TD Ameritrade or Schwab or whatever they're called, or it might be Gucci or McDonald's. Somebody else besides you will take your money from you if you're not careful. So, Evan Greathouse.
Well, and then if it's auto enrolled, right, and then there's 2 to 3 years of like where it says, well, we'll match it after 2 years, 3 years, or 5 years. and those in the plans, and our job loss is going down, like we're moving down and needing people,
Get laid off or whatever.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Laid off, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, well, wait a second, what's actually going to happen? Let's play this out 5 years, and auto enroll to then give you a carrot again, the business owner, to then pull it out and say, well, we don't need those anymore because we have a robot doing it now.
There you go.
Just interesting. Just a thought.
We'll leave it there. I think that's so true. Yeah, you're going to get dropped off before the cliff vesting schedule for sure. So, guys, if this was helpful for you, don't forget to like and subscribe this video on whatever channel you're watching it on Evan's channels, Brandon's channels. We repaired this across, so share it on the Not Your Average Financial Podcast YouTube channel. I'm putting in the notes below how you can reach everybody. That's livecounterflow.com for Brandon. And Brandon Neely and Amanda Neely are amazing people. And similarly, Evan Greathouse is at greathousefs.com. An amazing guy. Everybody here I would trust implicitly with my finances. So guys, check out Evan and Brandon. And of course, you guys know me at notyouravagefinancialpodcast.com. So everybody, hope you all have a great weekend. We'll see you next time on